Hello YouTube, welcome back to the channel. So a little bit of a follow-up video. I did talk about this in the live stream that I was going to do a follow-up video to the whole offer thing. Had a couple of videos this week, so already this has been a very exciting week. Praise the content gods, quite a bit of things. But there's just a follow-up to it because on the offer video I did get some really good comments and I wanted to kind of touch on a few of them and then discuss them a little bit. So what I'll do is I'll kind of share the comments with you and talk through a couple of things related to it. So the update is that there hasn't been an update. They haven't followed up in any way. So for some reason you didn't see the first video. All it really was that I came across by accident someone posting that they were interested in a card that I'd actually purchased. So the image they took from it was actually from the eBay auction that I won. And it was a situation where they were trying to get in touch with the person that had the card. Obviously that was me. So I did leave a little message there, kind of tongue-in-cheek, kind of pointing into it. And one of the comments here kind of touches on that a little bit, so I'll come back to that. But anyway, so they reached out and they basically went back and forth with me and they made an initial offer on one of the cards. And they were trying to see if I would sell it. And I kind of explained off the top at the beginning of it is that for the right circumstances, of course I would. But at the same time, I had no urgency to it. Even though it's kind of a secondary PC for me, it was a situation where I liked the card. And I felt that the price I bought it for was very fair, so I was okay with hanging on to it. For me, there was no reason to necessarily sell it, but I would hear them out. And I kind of laid that out right up from the beginning. I just said, look, I'll hear you out. If you want to direct message me, you're welcome to tell me what you're thinking and then see if you want to make any kind of an offer. After an initial back and forth exchange, they basically came back and said, give me a couple of days and I'll see if I can make an offer on that card and then also one other card that I kind of showed because I was trying to make the point that I am collecting for the character here, in this case, for the wrestling. I am collector for it, but it's in the same vein. I don't necessarily need to sell it. It's not one of those ones where I'll pick something up with the intention of resell. And in that case, it's a lot easier because I'll just direct them to eBay because usually that card will already be on there. But in this case, it's not. It's not necessarily publicly available for sale. But if they want to reach out to me, they certainly can. By the way, in case you're curious why suddenly the lighting suddenly goes off, I've got the Dallas-Winnipeg hockey game happening here. So I'm recording this just after the second period. So right now we're going on with it, but I figured I'd record this, kind of two birds with one stone, just kind of keeping an eye on it. See, I'm changing multiple colors. There's a lot going on here on the side screen. But anyway, so bottom line is that I figured I would do a little bit of follow-up with the comments, but no follow-up from the potential buyer themselves. They're going to have to really make me an interesting offer for me to be interested in engaging in it further, but some of the comments touch on that, so I figured I would go through a lot of them. So as I read through it, I'll put the comment on the screen, and then I'll kind of read through it, so that's how we'll do this video. First one here is from Paul C, and also I'm going to be reading off of the screen here, so if I'm looking away, that's basically what I'm looking at here. Paul C says, update. I still stand behind calling Eric number 2. Follow-up to that. Re-Godfather. What's this? It's a Sicilian message. It means Eric sleeps with the fishes. That has nothing to do with this video, but I just included that because it was one of the responses, and frankly, Paul is correct. Hashtag facts. I just thought I would include that because hashtag facts. Next up is Aussie Card Dad, who was a frequent commenter back in the day, so nice to see that they're back here in the comment section. Hi Carlos, it's been too long, interesting discussion. I recently had an offer out of the blue for one of my favorite PC cards. The interesting part was what was offered. He's a well-known musician here in Australia. Instead of cash, he offered concert tickets and a meet and greet, the whole VIP treatment. I politely declined, but he gets points for trying a different approach. So I did respond to this, and yes, I would definitely qualify that. So that's actually kind of a fun offer. So that's something that kind of the point I made in the initial one is that kind of a generic offer, if you're the one initiating it, and that's the distinction, and I'll touch on it again in a couple of comments. If you're the one initiating, you're trying to buy something, in this case, as a collector, you're trying to buy something that someone else hasn't necessarily made for sale. If it's on eBay and it has a buy now best offer, then of course, make offers, do whatever you lowball, do whatever you want. But if it's something where you are asking someone if they would consider selling something that they haven't made available for sale necessarily in a public venue specifically, then you kind of have to be creative or really give a good rationale. Basically, your offer, whatever it's going to be, has to be something that will entice them to consider it. It doesn't mean you have to offer $1 million, but it does mean that you have to get something, give someone a reason to give more attention to it. Because it's, just some random tire kicking is always going to be a little weird if you're the one who's initiating the thing in the first place. And that's the key. It's the sequencing of things. If something is made available, then it's pretty much fair game. Do whatever you're going to do. But if you're the one who's saying, hey, I'm a collector of this and I would like to see if you would consider selling it, then you're probably going to have to come at it a little bit stronger. Or, in the case of this, make it a very interesting offer. That is a unique one. It earns points for uniqueness on that one. In this case, he politely declined, but it doesn't mean that it wasn't interesting. It's definitely an attention getter to kind of take a different approach to it in terms of an offer. So thank you to Aussie Card Dad for offering that comment. I appreciate that. M1 Hunter 3006 says, offering double money value has the respect and thank you built in. I'm 2 for 2 for this approach. So this is them speaking from their perspective of making the offer. And that certainly would be an offer. Like you're offering double market value or double financial value. Obviously, that's something that you would at least pay attention to. So that's the kind of example of somebody saying that from their perspective, they made an aggressive offer to try to get the other person's attention and also say, hey, I am really interested in this. And obviously something like that, you'll at least give it some credence. Just looking at it, that's not my expectation per se, although, probably not that far off, realistically, from my end of it. Again, it's a situation where you have to entice me, because if you're offering me basically what I paid for it, or even a little bit more, I don't really need the money in this case, because the cards themselves are just sitting in the collection. If it's a situation where for some reason I needed the money, then it might be a different conversation. But if it lacks the urgency and it's kind of the unsolicited request side of it, then you pretty much are going to have to be aggressive. Double is actually a theme that comes up in a couple of the comments here. So next one here, Dan's Vintage Baseball PC, the proverbial I don't want to sell it number. Yeah, that's basically the thought process, the mentality that you kind of have to take into it. So Dan's bang on. That's basically, you're the one making the offer. You're going to have to throw the number at it. If the other person really doesn't want to sell, what's the number that will get them to at least consider it? And that's kind of the approach that I think you have to take with it, from my perspective. Bobzel here says, agree with your logic 100%. Unless I know the guy personally, if I decide to sell it, he'd have to compete on the free market for it. And yeah, that's basically the key issue here. In this case, you're trying to circumvent the free market. So you have to remember that when you're making this kind of an offer, you're basically trying to avoid getting stuck into a bidding war or something with somebody else. So if you're the one trying to extract that out of a PC, then you have to kind of think about that. If it was put on the open market again, and you were a bidder along with potentially other people, what would be the number that you think you'd wind up at? Doesn't mean you have to try to match that number, but it means you have to at least have it in the back of your mind, because the other person might have it in the back of their mind, and that's one of the key pieces that you have to think about. Wesker Griff here says, the hobby can sometimes get really weird with entitlement. I agree completely. Heard stories before about one-of-ones or other very low-numbered cards of sought-after players or people. If it's not for sale, it's not for sale. You can, of course, make an offer, but don't get into a fuss if the owner says no thank you. Good video and thoughts, Carlos. So thank you. That's Ed. Wesker Griff there. And that's true. You can always make an offer on stuff like that. Just because somebody says, oh, it's not for sale, doesn't mean you can't make an offer. But then don't be bothered if they say no. Or don't be bothered if that doesn't get the job done, because again, you were asking for something that wasn't necessarily available in the first place. So a very good comment in that regard. Josh here says, honestly, I would tell him my number 2 times what I paid, and when he declines, let him know that if he changes his mind in the future, he knows where it is. I like Josh's approach, kind of going straight for that 2x number. So that's, like I said, it comes up thematically a couple of times during this one. So thank you, Josh. No matter what Eric says about you, I appreciate you. BlueODM here says, in this situation, they would have to make me an offer that blows me away. For one-on-one, I would say 2.5x what I paid would get my attention. So again, kind of falling under, it feels like there's a little bit of a theme where a lot of folks are winding up on that number where, you may look at it from the other perspective and say like, oh, but that's not fair. You paid XYZ. And it's like, you're right. But in this case, you're asking for something that wasn't available. So right now, you're the one who's saying, you're the $1 million man. You're saying everybody has a price for the $1 million man. So you're the one who kind of has to play that game. Fair or unfair, that's kind of where you wind up with it, because again, you've surrendered the leverage. You're the one who wants the thing, and the other person has the thing you're asking for. Especially if it's a one-of-one where you can't just go buy the other one, because there is no the other one. It's a very good comment, and I also think it's interesting that the whole 2x and 2.5x keeps coming up over and over again. One more comment here. This one I'll take a little bit more time with, because I think it'll be interesting. PhillyJoe here says, no judgment, but for myself, unless I want to get rid of, sell something, I don't/wouldn't even have commented on having it. Unless I know that something is for sale at X amount, I don't care. I hate the negotiation game. Thanks for sharing an interesting story. The whole I'm a collector violin playing in the background BS is for the birds. Have a great one. So thank you, PhillyJoe. I think it's a great comment. So important thing, and I think PhillyJoe knows this, but I thought it was a great comment regardless, because I think it brought up some interesting points. So the whole commenting thing, because I mentioned earlier in my story that I specifically, I did reply to it. Basically, I was letting them know where the card was. The idea of, well, if you don't intend on selling it, that's why kind of at the outset of the original story I mentioned, it's not that I wouldn't sell it under any circumstances. It's that I'm not looking to necessarily, but it's a situation where I opened the communication lines and I said, look, if you are asking if I would consider selling it, which is what they did, then I said, reach out to me and let me know what you have in mind, and then we'll go from there. And that's kind of an open-ended, I'm not saying yes, I'm not saying no. It's kind of up to you. The ball is then in your court to make it enticing or interesting to me to then engage in it further. If you go in and you just offer like $1 for something that I have no interest in selling, well then the likelihood is you're probably going to get a polite no, and then that'll be the end of that. But if you are somebody who is trying to get a card or trying to get an item or whatever it is, and then you go in there and you really make a considered offer, then at the very least I will give it the time to consider it. It's one of those things where it's the least I can do is give it some consideration. But it's going to really require you to carefully think about whatever it is the number that you're going to make as the offer itself. So kind of I get the general idea where if you have no intention of selling it, then you would never comment on it, so you're 100% right. But like a lot of things in the collection, under the right circumstances, I would certainly hear somebody out. And if they make a number that's, you know, the Godfather offer, then probably I would end up selling it. But I'm not necessarily worried about doing so. So the ball is 100% in their court at this stage. Speaking here, it says also, I hate the negotiation game. Totally get that. It is a little bit annoying, especially when people have a certain idea in their head what they want to do. So I get that. And lastly, the whole I'm a collector violin playing in the background. Yes. Like I mentioned in the original video, that doesn't move me. That's not something that is going to entice me to, you know, give you any kind of a deal. Realistically, I'm probably not going to take even $1 off for that. Not that I'm trying to be mean about it, but the reality is that, again, I bought the card because I wanted the card. And in this case, you have to offer me something that makes me want the money that you are offering more than the card. And that's basically the key piece to that whole puzzle. And we'll see. That's why I say I'm leaving it in their court, and they can kind of decide for themselves how they want to approach this. But it was interesting, and I do appreciate the comments and the engagement we got on that one. So that was really good. So that'll be it on this one. A little bit late Saturday recording. I think we'll see if we can get this video out before late Saturday, before Sunday morning. Otherwise, it'll be a Sunday morning upload. The plan for Sunday is actually going to be possibly, weather permitting, it looks good so far, to head out to the Toronto Maple Leafs baseball game. Although, if everything comes to pass and I do end up going, I'm going to have to very carefully consider probably leaving a little bit early. I do want to go and hang out at the ballpark for a little bit, maybe grab a drink and a hot dog. But the thing is that realistically, I will probably strategically, you know, exit stage left a little bit early, because I think it's going to be a madhouse, because we're also going to have Toronto Maple Leafs Game 7 in Toronto, and I think the locals are going to be very restless. So it's going to be a situation I may sneak away a little bit early. If that comes to pass, then there is a real possibility that I may end up doing a live watch-along on the channel. So that might be the little Sunday programming. We might get a bonus live stream on Sunday. We'll see what happens. You know, maybe we'll bring on the Burrell, you know, longtime suffering Leafs fan, you know, who has abandoned them and kind of deals with them and kind of grits his teeth through it. And it's very interesting. It's going to be fun for me because honestly, I don't have a horse in this race. You know, I'm not a Leafs fan, never have been, but obviously I am local to it and can see firsthand exactly the anxiety-inducing reaction to every single win and loss. So it could be kind of fun. So we'll see. If I do end up doing that, I will put some kind of a placeholder on the channel, and then I'll see. Maybe I'll invite some of the others to join in a little bit and hang out. So we'll see. We might have a little Sunday night live stream, especially since I got Monday off, so it might be just a chill hangout. We'll see. We'll see how things end up going with that. Now, with that said, I'll say again, thank you everybody who participated. Thank you everybody who commented. Appreciated the engagement on that one. It's been fun to kind of do a little bit of videos when the opportunities present itself. We've had a couple of things to talk about this week, so it's been kind of fun doing that. More videos coming up on the channel. Live streams on Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, aside from any bonus impromptu live streams or any additional videos that end up coming about as a result of some random happening. So we'll see what happens with all that going on. That's it. That's it for this one. Like if you like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thanks very much, and we'll catch you in the next one.